listen-only mode.
Hello, good morning everybody. I wish that you can hear us well. And I would like to welcome you again for the webinar undertaking the VDI train and having a close look at Dell vWorkspace solution. My name is Rami Ilhabit. I'm the technology lead in Exceed IT Services and Training for the UC and the Messaging Department. Also with me on the webinar is Mr. Habib Reis, and he will be my colleague in the as a presenter. We will start this presentation by talking about our company, the Exceed IT Services that we present, and about the VDI and technology behind virtual desktop infrastructure as a solution. I wish that you all guys can hear us well. I will start the presentation by talking about who we are as Exceed IT Services. We actually started in Abu Dhabi back days. Now, as an Exceed IT Services, we do IT services, solutions, we do consultations, outsourcing. We had many locations in the region. We're based in Abu Dhabi, Dubai. We have branches in Dubai, in Bahrain, Muscat, Doha, Amman, Basra, Baghdad, Riyadh, Tripoli, and Cordoba. We've been more now than 375 IT specialists. So we cover most of the IT industry through 9 service categories. And as I mentioned, we do presence in the 9 different countries. We're really one of the growing IT company in the MENA region. Our number of customers are now exceeding the 863 customers, and our employees through the region is more than 374 employees. And we had partnership with many partners, and there are around 9 for sure. Number 1 is Microsoft and Dell. So we've got partners with Microsoft and we're close partners with Dell. Okay, next. Next, please. Now, let's talk about some facts about Exceed. In the past 3 years, we've been raised, our employees increased around 113%, and we added our partnership increased as 100%. We opened a new market, and the margin was at up to 78%. The amazing thing is that our company size increased in the past 3 years by around 175%, and our customer base increased by around 36%. Next. So let's have a closer look about Exceed IT Service and how we started. We started in May 2001. The company was established in Abu Dhabi, and we used to deliver by May at that time only professional training and to deliver Microsoft and CompTIA trainings. After that, in 2003, we had a step ahead and we started to deliver advanced IT solutions. And in September, by around end of 2003, we started our IT consultancy services by doing projects and consultancy. Then we grew up in 2005, and in around first and second quarter in 2005, we started the new outsourcing strategy, and we started to deliver outsourced engineers to most of the organizations. And the big jump was by having the Exceed Support Agreement, we called ESA, in June 2005, and it was a big jump where we started to do an agreement with our customers actually, and with the new customers, delivering for them the support beside the consultancy and the outsourcing. And in February 2006, we became the licensing resellers. Next. This is in 2006. Now, by 2009, we opened in March, end of Q1, our academy, IT Academy, we started to bring new employee joiners and start to train them on most of the technologies that we deliver, and promote these people to other organizations and outsource them, or using these resources and making these resources becoming full Exceed employee job. And in 2011, in February, we started the Technology Adoption Pack, and by January 2015, we started to work on the tutorial programs where we can do most of our trainings as online and sell our online courses. Next, please. Next, please. Our global reach. So where are we actually, and how we're distributed as employees? Mostly in Abu Dhabi, because it's our headquarters when we were established in 2001, we're around 31%. In Dubai, around 27%. Muscat, 16% of the employees. Bahrain, 14%. Doha, 7%. Baghdad, 5%. So 58% is actually more than a half, around more than a half in UAE market. We opened recently in Argentina, Libya, and KSA, which is a big global reach. Now let's talk more about our team actually, and who are our team. We'll start by the founder of Exceed IT Service actually, our general manager, Mr. Ahmed Shayati. He was really a firm believer in specialization leads to excellence, and he's very much experienced. He was the one who established the company in 2001, and he had big motivation to grow this company and become one of the largest Microsoft partners in the region, and very strong partner with other vendors and providers like Dell. I personally one of the guys who really appreciate Mr. Ahmed Shayati for all his efforts that he put in order to grow this company, and I learned a lot from him. Some of our team is like Mr. Samir Shayat, and he's one of our also early persons who work in Exceed IT Services, and he's a branch manager in Dubai. And he started his career actually as a technical trainer, and then he developed himself into getting more positions in project management, sales, account management, and business development. Nihal Salim is one of our special initiative managers, and she specialized in specialized in project management in the Gulf in the last 5-6 years, and she had a very good special focus on education and training. Mr. Sameh Bushnat is one of our regional program unit manager, and he has more than 13 years experience international and in the GCC organizations and IT softwares. Can we go next, please? Next, please.
Yes, sir.
Maya Azam is our quality and compliance manager, and May is one of the motivated ladies in Exceed with more than 10 years experience. And she takes care about managing the quality and the compliance of the unit departments. Welcoming most Haider Zain Al-Abidin, our special initiative manager and our marketing manager, who put a lot of efforts in Exceed IT Services and the marketing, and he's one of the best really special initiative managers. And the last, not the least, is myself, Rami Al-Habid. I'm the technology lead actually of unified communications, messaging, core infrastructure, and VDI is one of the competencies that runs under our unit. So I'm the lead of that unit. I've been more than 12 years in Exceed IT Services. I started actually when approximately Exceed started as normally a certified trainer delivering MCSEs, and after that I started to get engaged into projects and working in close relationship with project management. after that as technical pre-sales, and then leading a unit, which is the UC and messaging. Okay, I think that's a good introduction for Exceed IT Services, our global reach, and who we are. I will leave now to complete the presentation by our technical pre-sales consultant in the UC and messaging department, Mr. Habib Ghait, who will take you closer into virtual desktop infrastructure, about its challenges, concepts, and about all the benefits regarding savings and using solutions of virtualizing your desktops. Habib, the mic is yours. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rami. Great introduction. Now, I would like to welcome you all in this presentation regarding the virtual desktop infrastructure, and it's a closer look on Dell vWorkspace. Now, first of all, why do we go to VDI? What are the challenges that led us to go to VDI? First of all, that the problem is with the problems with the traditional desktop, actually, that was one of the factors that led to going to VDI, or even to considering going to VDI. First of all, or let's say one of the problems of the traditional desktop infrastructure, which is it is difficult to manage. Why? Because the variety of the PC hardware, because you have so many hardware, you have different types of hardware. You have, let's say, for example, traditional PC desktop, you have even laptops. So in this case, whenever I want, you have different operating systems, and in this case, whenever I want, for example, to manage these desktops, to update these desktops, it will take so much time. Sometimes it will also comprise so many problems in case of the updates didn't work in each desktop. So this was one of the features, or let's say one of the challenges, the big customer pain points that led to going to virtual desktop infrastructure. And we're gonna go now, or let's say we're gonna define what is VDI and how it will be a beneficiary for my organization. The second thing is the high total cost of ownership. Why? Because the high cost of the PC hardware, for example, of buying the PC hardware, upgrading your PC infrastructure or your traditional desktop infrastructure, the high cost of even managing the traditional desktop infrastructure, it was also a challenge that needs to be addressed and needs to have any solution that can overcome this challenge or overcome this pain point. The problem as well is that I'm having this desktop with me, but I'm not efficiently using this resource, the inefficient resource utilization, because at the end I'm having, if you look at, let's say, the last 3-4 years, at each time, or every one year and a half, the prices of the PCs or desktops are doubled, and the specs of the PCs are doubled, but at the end I'm sometimes giving these PCs to people who are only using it for office applications or even for browsing. So at the end I'm not utilizing whatever resources that I'm using for the traditional desktop infrastructure. And the last but not least, which is the most important thing, is that it is difficult to protect and secure data on the traditional desktop. Why? Because if you look at, now we have an expression, it's called big data, because if you look at the infrastructure now in terms of network infrastructure, that we're going to have, let's say, larger data, larger SAN storage inside our environment. And what I need to focus on this part of the network, which is the server infrastructure, instead also of focusing and protecting as well the traditional desktop. The problem with the traditional desktop is that each desktop has its own data, and it's difficult to protect and secure. Why? Because if this desktop is stolen, then it's going to be a challenge for me how to, let's say, the data is lost or even stolen, and this will comprise a big problem, especially for financial, let's say, organizations. So this risk of PC theft was also one of the, let's say, most important challenge or most important pain point that led us to go to VDI. Now, why the VDI challenges? First of all, increased mobility. the VDI as a concept, it will give you increased mobility. It will also address the IT consumerization, which is the bring your own device, BYOD. It will address this, and it will give us more space in giving the ability for the customer, or let's say for the user, or the flexibility for the user to have access to his desktop from anywhere. Actually, to be honest, the VDI is detaching your desktop, like a definition, detaching your desktop, your physical desktop from the physical computer that you have, to move it to a centralized computing infrastructure, which is on the server side, to put it on a central location so I can access it from anywhere. I don't need to have access or to be on my physical computer or physical desktop, physical laptop, for example. So I can access my own desktop. I can access it from anywhere, even if I'm on the road. I have my smartphone. I can access my desktop from there. I have my tablet. If I'm inside the train, I can access my desktop from there as well. So there's anywhere access. I don't depend on a specific device in order to access my desktop and my working applications. Plus, I can roam across any PC, even inside the same building. Whenever I want to, for example, do something very fast, I don't need to return to my desktop, so I can do it from anywhere. Plus, it gives me flexible configurations for my device and for my own devices, as I mentioned, which is BYOD. The best thing about it is that IT Pro is that whenever I have put this desktop in one location, and this location is centralized, so what I could do is I focus on that let's say server infrastructure. I take backups of that server infrastructure, so my desktop is taken care of in terms of backups, and don't have any problem. Why? Because my desktop is secured already on the centralized location, which is, for example, the headquarters. So I can plus I can put my compliance rules, whatever I have as an IT admin, on this desktop infrastructure, because I have control on it, physically even control on it inside my let's say data center. The cost reduction of having the VDI is very big. We're going to talk about it. Not in terms of, let's say, hardware cost to hardware cost on, let's say, for example, on a short number of years, because if you look at it from Apple to Apple using the hardware, there will be some cost also on VDI, but on the long term, it's gonna be beneficial for you because of the let's say saved efforts of these. Because at the end I can, let's say, update, for example, the virtual machine, the master image of the virtual machine inside the VDI. We're going to talk about it later even, from the central location, and that's it, and apply the updates in seconds instead of sometimes having a dedicated project for updating my desktop just to provide it with security patches. Also, plus with the disaster recovery, so what I can do is that I can recover the desktops of the users to another location in case of, for example, something happened on the main data center, or something happened on the server that is holding the virtual machine that has the virtual desktop. So VDI, it's a computing model that adds a layer of of virtualization between the user and its PC. So as I mentioned, I detach the desktop from the physical computer and put it on the server in a virtual machine. And this virtual machine can be dedicated for me, and we're going to talk about it also later, or shared with other users inside my organization. So, and as I mentioned, VDI is a desktop-centric service. When I can use it, I can use a workspace VDI. First of all, I have much greater control for policy enforcement, as I mentioned, which is the security and compliance, plus patch management and software distribution on fast networks. It will be a matter of seconds, so I can deploy the new virtual machine that has the newest updates, for example, directly to the users. No need for me to go to each user and check why this update didn't go, or let's say didn't apply on his PC or not. Security data never leaves the data center. The user can access his data from anywhere, but it will never leave the data center. So I don't care about if the, let's say, PC has been, or let's say the device has been stolen or not. Plus, I can also control, can have more control over the application licensing. Now, what is the benefits of using Dell vWorkspace? First of all, the benefits is with the total cost, because at the end what we care about is the total cost per user. What is the what it will cost me in order to have a solution like Dell vWorkspace? If you look at the table in front of you, you will find that the total cost per user for vWorkspace, which is used because vWorkspace used to be for Quest, and Quest was acquired by Dell. So at the end, it's for Dell. So and what was even in 7.5, not even with the newest, because they didn't come up until now with the newest, with the newest or a newer comparison with the latest version, which is 8.5. So if you look at the hypervisor, it is using Hyper-V R2 SP1, although it can also use VMware. We're going to talk about what's the virtualization platform that Dell vWorkspace can work with. That's the beauty of Dell vWorkspace, that it's flexible. I don't need to work with specific virtualized platform in order to let's say to have my virtual desktop infrastructure. So if you look at the cost for Hyper-V, cost is 0%. Why? Because I'm using Hyper-V, so as a licensing, there is no, let's say, there is no cost, which is for per virtual machine. There is no cost, because if I'm looking at the server, there is only the data center license. Other than that, I don't need to pay for each virtual machine. SAN storage for VMs, this is the cost. Actually, this was done by Dell themselves, and they were comparing subjectively between the solutions, and these are the figures. You will find that the total cost per concurrent user per year is the least for data for Dell vWorkspace. So the storage savings, it's the same, because the average IOPS requirements for 150 desktops is, as you can see, 600 or above 600 IOPS per second, input out per second. Now, let's go also for the storage savings. You will find that in each solution there is a higher cost added for the storage, and it's the same, and it's looking at the annual capex. Now, for what is the value proposition of vWorkspace? Actually, the beauty of the vWorkspace or the VDI solution that relies on vWorkspace is that it needs, let's say, I can apply vWorkspace at any business scenario, at any business location. What we need to know is that what is your, let's say, your pain points, what is your challenges, what can VDI help you and benefit you in your organization, and we apply it for that specific scenario. We have done more than one use case for example, for healthcare, for financials, for financial sector, for even oil and gas, for also as well education. So it will help us for whatever, even your sector. We just go there and we collect the environment, collect the pain points that you have, collect the business processes. What is your in your industry, and we apply the VDI there, and we will show you what is the benefit and the ROI of using the vWorkspace. Here as well is the VDI cost versus traditional cost, desktop cost, and it's advisable to visit this following link actually for a 12-year study, so you can see how VDI is calculated financially and what is the benefits during this period. As I mentioned, in the long term, whenever you want to even to update or upgrade your server environment to accommodate more desktop users, at the end this cost is very minimal comparing to bringing a new PCs for each user that you're let's say applying or you're increasing your environment with. And we're gonna, at the end of this session, we're gonna open this this link in order to check it. Let's go now to, let's say, to more on the Dell vWorkspace features. First of all, we're gonna talk about that Dell vWorkspace, it can be applied to more than one scenario. It's not only for VDI. I can use it even for remote desktop. For example, if I have remote desktop applications that I want users to access it through remote desktop, I can use it also as well to manage this environment from Dell vWorkspace. And it has a single management console, so we can use the console directly to use it. I can benefit from the EOP, which is Experience Optimization Protocol for WAN and high latency. It has actually it has been let's say optimized for WAN and WAN links high latency. It has also user profile management, because you're going to ask me if I'm going to use the shared let's say the shared virtual desktops, not the personalized virtual desktops, how I'm going to maintain the user profile. We're going to answer it also in the process. Plus, I can have a dynamic user environment and configuration and lockdown. I can also benefit if there is, for example, any virtualized application infrastructure that I have, for example, AppV or even ThinApp from
Habib
or semantic. Yes, Rami.
Mr. Benny, I think he has a question.
Yes.
And he raised his hand, so can you have a look into it, please?
Yes, sure. Not here.
Benny, you can ask the question, please.
Just a minute.
Just please unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, please.
Okay, if not, the sound is not working with you, Mr. Benny, you can just type the question over the chat window, and we're more than pleasure to answer your question. Okay, Habib, please, you can continue, then
Yes, okay.
we'll answer the question.
Sure. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, I was talking about the remote desktop host services application publishing as well, because I can use it to publish applications using remote desktop. I can also benefit from, even if I have an AppV or any virtualized application infrastructure inside my environment, I can integrate it with Dell vWorkspace, and I can plus use VDI in another scenario, or the third scenario, which is using it with Blade PCs. If I have, for example, power users that they need, let's say PCs, they use it for example, for animations or for gaming design. And they need powerful PCs that have, let's say, extensive CPU usage. What I can do is that I can provide them with Blade servers, and they can use it as their PCs, for example, and put it inside the data center, and provide them also with access to these PCs from anywhere, instead of having it in, let's say, dedicated for each user by itself. Or if they have powerful workstations, I can do the same. I can centralize these servers or workstations in one location, and I can provide them access to it from anywhere. Also, I can manage it from a single management console. Server agnostic, what I mean by server agnostic is that the beauty of Dell vWorkspace that it can work with more than one virtualization platform. It can work with VMware, it can work with Windows Server Hyper-V, and it can work with Parallels Virtuoso. And Parallels Virtuoso, it's also a virtualization platform that is famous in Europe, I think also in America. Now, the case here as well is that we look at Dell vWorkspace as a middle layer between the client layer, which is, it can be any web connector for vWorkspace, because vWorkspace uses HTML5 as a connector. So what I can do is that, as we will see now in the demo, at the end, we can access.
So Mr. Habib,
yes.
Just to elaborate more for the attendees,
Yes, please.
that what Mr. Habib meant here is that our backend can be for virtualizing the desktops and providing the virtual machines to the client side, can be most of the well-known virtualized environments, which can be either Hyper-V or VMware or Parallels, for example. And this is one of the strong advantages that Dell vWorkspace has, which can be integrated as a connection broker between the clients and the backend on any type of virtualization technologies. Yes, you may have more advantages using the Hyper-V from reduction of costs, but again, all of these virtualization technologies are supported 100% and they work like a glance.
Exactly. Yes. So now, as I mentioned, I'm going to just have a quick glance on the desktop delivery models that Dell vWorkspace provided. First of all, which is the RDSH, which is the remote desktop session host. I can provide multiple users concurrently access to, or concurrently have a session to, let's say, an application that is published on the server. And I can also have it's called temporary or non-persistent or pooled virtual desktop. So what I do is that I give access to the user for the users to a pooled virtualized virtual desktop, which is a virtual desktop that he doesn't own, but he can access his profile on that virtual machine, and he can use it normally. Once he finishes, all the changes that he has done on his profile will be saved on a file server or shared folder inside a file server. That's why we need the user profile management role. We're going to talk about the roles now once we move on. We need this role to be part of the part of the infrastructure, so I can save the profiles of the users whenever they access any virtual machine.
Let me just elaborate more, Mr. Habib, here on the persistent one-to-one. Yes. And this is a good idea for people when they have normally in normal environments a common machine with a common account that they use in order to log in and have the same program being accessed. This is good by providing a persistent machine also to these people. So instead of having, let's say, the same desktops with different windows on different hardwares, more like 3 or 4, we can have just one image which is ready for a group of users, which is always the same, having the same credentials with the people to log in through it, with having specific applications to run it. This is very good from a persistent perspective. The other words we can use also persistent whenever we have a user who would like to see always his specific type of applications whenever he logs in. So we're going to assign this machine or this desktop to be always saved as a backend to that user, specifically only and only to that user.
Exactly. It can work also for executives, so you don't need to let's say, to have any problem. Just give him his machine. He can use it and access it all the time. Plus at the end, which is connect remotely to a physical PC, which is the last one. As I mentioned, for example, if I have powerful workstations for powerful users or power users, so I can give them access to it instead of providing him with the physical workstation wherever he goes. Now, vWorkspace session platforms, as we mentioned earlier, I can access to go to let's say have access to Microsoft Hyper-V, and I can also integrate with Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager. So if you have also a CVMM, the Dell vWorkspace utilizes that. And other physical computers, works with Microsoft AppV and NetApp FlexClone. Now, also the beauty of the vWorkspace session platforms, or the multitude of session platforms that vWorkspace has, because it will respond to the client connectivity requests and redirect each client to its virtual machine or its application or its, let's say, physical desktop, depending on the desktop delivery model that you're going to use. And the beauty also is that it supports for the multiple virtualization platforms and their management, so the customer doesn't need to shift his entire infrastructure in order to adopt the workspace. And it gives you a high scalable Windows service, because I can, let's say, for example, use one connection broker per 1,000 or 1,500 users. But at the end, we always want high availability. So if, for example, one connection broker is down, the other can handle the connection. Now, the architecture.
May I elaborate more,
yes.
please, Habib,
Yes,
please. on the previous one for the architecture?
Yes,
now,
please,
what's the beauty of it actually from administration and cost perspective? Nowadays, most of the companies, if you ask me before 5 years about private cloud, nobody used to have virtualization, or rare people used to have virtualized environments in their infrastructure internally. Nowadays, 99% of the organizations are using virtualization technologies, if it's Hyper-V or VMware. To be able to use this solution or virtualize your desktop, it's very easy matter nowadays, because even the roles of vWorkspace can be all virtualized as virtual machines through Hyper-V or VMware. And what you need is actually adding more computing if needed after doing the calculations of more storage or more processing or memory, which is normally their upgrades are easiest and faster in order to adopt such a technology. So you don't need really to go and shift all your data center in order to use this solution. If I need, let's say, to update my desktops now and upgrade them, and I don't want to pay that amount of money, and I found that upgrading my storage and my maybe processing or RAM to virtualize all my desktop is going to cost me less than upgrading the desktop itself for each client. So, and this is mostly the case actually. So I will go with such a solution and gain the benefits of using such a solution, having all the data secured under my data center for the users.
Yes. Sure.
Thank you, Habib.
Right, no problem. Plus, now we're going to talk about the architecture of Dell vWorkspace, how it works. Dell vWorkspace, if you can see the diagram, works on 3 levels or 3 layers or 3 tiers. The first tier, which is the client tier, where how he wants to access the environment. So, for example, if I have a remote client and he wants to access the environment from outside the organization or even from the inside, it's the same. But what I do is that I can make this access to be unified through SSL gateway, which is also developed by Dell vWorkspace. And this SSL gateway, it's a secure access gateway that will provide me access to my virtual machine through the client, the connection broker. So the vWorkspace connection broker, let's say, is the server, one of the core servers that Dell vWorkspace relies on to give me access to my virtual machine inside the server, because it will authenticate using the credentials that I have provided. It will authenticate me with the Active Directory, and then it will provide me to the virtual machine that I have, either pooled or even persistent. So the connection will be secured from inside or outside using the secure access gateway, and also it's one of the features that I need to have inside my environment. Sometimes if I want only access from inside the environment and I don't, let's say, for example, I don't need to worry about, or I don't want to have HTTPS connection, then the secure access gateway can be eliminated because I want to access only from inside. But it is also, as I mentioned, recommended to have the secure access gateway. Once I have access through the connection broker to my virtual machine, that's it. What I do as well is that, for example, if I want to have access to my virtualized applications using AppV, I can also access it. Or if I have remote applications that I want to access, I can as well access it or through the remote desktop session host server, which is a Microsoft actually role, the remote desktop session host role from Microsoft. I install it on a specific server and I include it in the vWorkspace infrastructure, and vWorkspace will manage this environment from the management console itself, which is, I mentioned, single management console to manage all the environment. What I also wanted to mention is that I can access my virtual machine through two types, which is either through web access, as I mentioned, which is through HTML5, or using the client, the native client for each operating system. There is native client for Windows, for iOS, for Android, for even, for example, if you have Chromebook, you can access it through HTML5, which is through web access. I can open it in a browser window. I can open my desktop in a browser window. Now, this is like a small vWorkspace architecture where I want to have access, for example, for 200 users. What I do is that I can have these 200 pooled virtual desktop accessing my infrastructure on a Dell Vertex, which is a shared infrastructure of 4 servers that has built-in storage up to 48 terabyte. And it's a very powerful solution for you to use because it's a shared infrastructure that you only need. That's like a black box with everything that you need for small environments or even for branch offices. So let's say you have 200 users and you want to provide them with virtual desktops. So what I do is that I give them access to the virtual machines. What I need with that is that the high available environment of the roles that I need for the vWorkspace roles for this architecture, which is 2 SQL servers, and as you can see, they are virtualized. So our let's say our method is that to separate it in a management cluster. So you'll find 2 SQL servers. You will find also 2 file servers that are high available. Why? As I mentioned, because we need them for the user profile management. I store the user profiles there. Plus, I need also 2 RDSH and 2 connection brokers. That's the case in terms of small vWorkspace. For the large vWorkspace architecture, it's more bigger. What we need is that we need, let's say, for example, if I have, for example, 600 users or 1,000 users, it depends on how many virtual desktops that I need to have in each server. So what I do is that I have, for example, more than one also master image, because the beauty of vWorkspace, it's flexible for even to provide each department in my organization with a specific master image with specific applications. And I can do that, and as the same, what I do is that I put also 2 SQL servers, 2 RDSH and 2 NLBs, connection brokers. And the connection broker can hold more than one role, which is web access and user profile management role. The connection broker server can have 3 roles, which is the connection broker role, the web access, and the profile management server role. As you can see, we have separated them in a separate management cluster. The servers can be a PowerEdge R72, PowerEdge R73, 73. It depends what are my specifications and what are my let's say applications that I'm going to run, how many CPU storage that I need, CPU uses that I need, RAM, hard disk, everything. With vWorkspace client devices, I have a range of client devices. I can use even the traditional desktop itself. I can use it as a client. So what I do is that, for example, if I am invested in traditional desktop computers like a year ago, that doesn't mean if I want to shift to vWorkspace that I need to remove all the investment that I have done for the upgrade and then just bring thin clients. What I can do is that I can have thin clients, I can have traditional desktop, I can have even tablets, I can have even Dell Wise Connect, which is Cloud Connect, which is HDMI, it's like a USB, it looks like a USB, but it's an HDMI that I can plug it into smart screens and I can access my desktop from that smart screens or TVs.
So, sorry, Habib, yes. So that's one of the beauty of such a solution. that you can access from externally in a secured way, you can access internally in a secured way. You can use it on different platforms, traditional desktops, telephones, tablets, having nothing between your hands, just the Dell Wise connector. This gives us the flexibility of using such a solution for providing such a solution to clients and to our customers.
Yes.
Thank you, Habib.
No problem. And as I mentioned, the HTML5 connector, which is from a web client, I can access my my desktop. Now, the system requirements for each role. For example, for the connection broker role, if you can see the system requirements are not that huge, but it depends on how many, let's say, users and how many virtual desktops that I want to have. Is it personalized or persistent or pooled? So even each one has its own calculations, but this is the minimum system requirements provided by Dell. That doesn't mean that, for example, if I have, for example, a huge environment of 1,000 users, this will apply, because at the end this is minimum for you to run it on a virtual machine, for example, for testing, and we have a demo environment for that. We're going to also run through it or walk through it after we finish the presentation, and you can have more, for example, specs as long as you add more users. So the CPU, as you can see, memory, the hard disk space, operating systems, and sometimes people it's concerned about the operating system in terms of licensing. It can work from Windows 2008 R2 up to Windows Server 2012 R2. Even for the SQL also, it's mentioned here. For the support virtualization technologies, actually, it's mentioned earlier. I can virtualize it also normally without any problem. Web access system requirements, also, as you can see, it's there, and from the CPU and the memory, it's not that huge, even for the hard disk space. Secure gateway system requirements, it's the same, except that memory requirements is this. For the secure access gateway, actually, it's more of a developed application through vWorkspace, and gives me secure access to my environment, and I can, for example, even from the internal users can have access through the secure gateway. I don't need to give them access directly to the connection broker. The remote desktop session host role, also, these are the requirements. So as you can see, these requirements are affordable for the environment, and as I mentioned, what we do is that we get engaged in your environment, we check what are the business processes that you have, how VDI will benefit you, then we build a solution that fits your environment. But these are the minimum system requirements we just wanted to mention. We also need to mention also the Hyper-V integration. So if you have Hyper-V, what are the integration benefits that you can use for if you want to install, if you want to have the vWorkspace. First of all, the vWorkspace works on a service called Data Collector. It's installed on the Hyper-V server, and it collects data about the virtual machines that is controlled by the vWorkspace server. Because from the vWorkspace management console, I can control even the virtual machines that I have, the virtual machines that I have, the desktops of the users. I can power them on, power them down. We're going to check it quickly now on the demo. I can do so many things to it from the management console. No need for me to go and do anything on the Hyper-V server, except that have the virtual machines, except some let's say changes on the Hyper-V on the virtual machine itself. And also I can initialize any let's say push of the virtual machines. For example, if I want to deploy virtual machines from a master image, I can do it from the management console. I have also the Hyper-V Catalyst components to provide me with this feature. Why? Because the Catalyst components can give me more flexible features to deploy my environment. As I mentioned, I have a master image. I want to deploy it to let's say 400 users. If you look at it, this amount of virtual machines that is going to be created at once, it's going to be a burst. And you will think that it will take some time to be built actually, and I have to do it overnight. I don't think it will finish. Actually, it's faster than ever in VDI vWorkspace. Why? Because we use something, or Dell has integrated something with Hyper-V. It's called Hyper-V Cache and Hyper-V Deploy. Hyper-V Deploy, where I can run more than one virtual machine inside each host, and what it does basically, it copies the first bits of the virtual machine, and it started copying, and then it will give it to you as an available virtual machine, and it's ready, and then started in the background moving the whole of the virtual machine to the hosts, and then from that virtual machine, it will, once it's ready, it will build the whole virtual machines that will be hosted on that host server. So
in other words, Mr. Habib,
yes.
Sorry, but just to elaborate, what we mean here, in other words, guys, is that you don't need really your image to be all provisioned with all its size to you at the end site, so you'll be able to run or to log into that machine. You'll be provided with the basic system files to run this machine, and you'll be able to log in, and after you log in, it will start continuing at the back end, forming your virtual machine and transferring it to your site over the network. And there's something lovely which doesn't let you feel as a user that there is a delay or you need time, a lot of time to open your virtual machine or your virtual desktop.
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Now, also, it call something provision time load balancing, where I can load balance the provisioning of the virtual machines on the host servers, so it will know what are the host servers and their capabilities, and put the virtual machines to be provisioned on each host server smartly by itself automatically. And the connection time load balancing as well. Also, if I want to, for example, if I want to access my virtual machine on my desktop, at the end I don't know what, for example, if I'm using pooled virtual machines or pooled virtual desktops, I will access through the connection broker. It will route me to the virtual machine that it will find available on the host servers. So it will measure what are the host servers usage in each, what are the CPU or let's say RAM usage on each host server, and it will balance the load based on that, and give me access to the virtual machine that resides on the let's say the most idle server of these servers. So I don't need to worry about, let's say, for example, if the host this host is utilized more than this host. The licensing models, I think you also want to have let's say a look about the licensing model. The licensing model, especially for vWorkspace, works on concurrent user. So for example, if I have an environment and it works for, let's say, for call centers or shared environments where I'm using the same virtual machine but through shifts, day and night, or 3 shifts, for example, inside in the same day. In this case, concurrent user will help you because it will give you license per concurrent user, how many users are accessing this percentage of time or this period or interval of time. The second one, which is per device, how many devices that I have, I can have also license for that. For example, if I have, let's say, 500 devices and for example 1,000 users and they're all shifting, I can use the per device, and I can use it also per subscription. What will happen is that I can, for each user, provide a subscription, so each user will have fixed license for him, and especially it's beneficial for the persistent virtualized desktops. Types of vWorkspace licenses in terms of server, there is desktop edition and premium edition. The desktop edition works for example, if I want to use it to manage RDSH or application or Blade PCs, as I mentioned, one of these delivery models. The premium edition we need it for all of the features, which is to use it also for VDI. The value of investment in Dell doesn't end actually in what is listed here, because I can work on different hypervisors, which is flexible. As I mentioned earlier, I can access my virtual desktop from anywhere, and I can keep all the data that I need in the data center. I can lock down my desktop. So, for example, the user doesn't have the ability or doesn't have the freedom to install whatever he wants to install on the machine, and this give me a greater level or granular level of security and compliance on the virtual machines or the desktops that user is accessing or using. And this will also save me time in troubleshooting the problems of the desktop applications that the user uses sometimes, because if you have a traditional desktop and he have full access to it, or let's say administrator on the machine, then he can install any application, and this application sometimes it has, for example, it has a joiner code where there is a hacker puts some code inside it because they love free applications, the users, and what they will do is that they will comprise a great security risk on the organization, and this can be eliminated. All this headache can be eliminated using Dell vWorkspace, and I can expand my workforce to anywhere. I can give access to people inside the branches without worrying how to support these users in the branch offices, and this is beneficial for banking sectors, for even education, for healthcare, any organization that have branch offices or remote offices that are far away. I don't need to put a special IT dedicated person there to fix their problems, and I can deliver a consistent user experience from wherever the user will access his environment. Actually, we can move into demo now.
Yes. Habib, I want to add one more note, which I love it mostly. Beside the security of having your data only secured in the private cloud in your internal data center, which is more into the effort that you put normally on doing updates at the client machines. Can you imagine how much time you need as a help desk or as a service desk department whenever a new update is rolled out, how you are going to go to each machine and make sure that it's updated and it's working fine. Now, whenever you have only one single master image and you did the update over it and you tested it, it's going fine, you just roll it out. Let's suppose you had a problem or compatibility issue of a new software that you updated into the clients. So how you're going to go and remove this update from all of these clients? So this is going to be a headache on yourself, and how you're going to manage it. When you have it within virtualization technologies like vWorkspace, I can again go to that master image and I can do the change, roll back that change, and then provide or provision these machines to the users again. So here comes the beauty of easy of control and the offload of troubleshooting for the service desk employees and for the IT department, which is actually more even security standards, or following more security standards whenever you want to unify your desktops to departments or to different departments. Thank you so much, Habib.
No problem. It's yours. Now, actually, if you like, we can go to the demo, then return to questions and answers, or we can have the question and answer now and the demo later. It depends how you would like to go through it. Let's say if, for example, have the demo, and then we can have the questions and the answers at the end, and we're going to answer whatever questions that you have. We're actually happy to have you here. So I'm going to move into the demo. And
so we're moving to the interesting part now, actually, to see how it really works very smoothly.
Exactly. Actually, let's say for our environment, we have 3 roles here on 3 virtual machines, which moves from VWRK01 to 03, and the first one, which is the vWorkspace connection broker server, which is, as I mentioned, the crucial component for me to have access to my environment. And just let me move in just to full screen. The thing here is that what I can do is that I can, from the single management console, to configure whatever I need to in order to provide access to the user to provide access for the user to his desktop. For example, in the beginning, I can provide what are the management hosts, what are the session host servers from here. I can also, it will by itself, it will know that this is the connection broker, and the locations, or let's say this node, which is locations node, it will provide me how many virtual vWorkspace infrastructures that I have. in each location. For example, if I have two headquarters, or let's say two big offices, I can put virtual desktop here, and I have vWorkspace infrastructure here and vWorkspace infrastructure there, and I can manage them from one single management console that can also be installed on your PC as an administrator. It doesn't need that for me to go to the server each time. I can have the management, I can have the virtualization hosts. I can also put the desktops here, as I mentioned, and from the desktops, for example, here we have two virtual machines just for testing and for demoing. So as you can see, I can power it off, shut down, restart, log off the user, everything. So if we go even to the targets, in the targets I can have the users, and I can have also whatever application restrictions or even policies that I can put on each user. I can go to the managed applications that I have. I can even go to user environment. I'm not going to go deep in detail on each one. The web access role, I can also have monitoring and diagnostics role, so I can check what is the problems, and even in the latest version they have provided a great licensing advantage regarding that, because they included it inside the license.
Thank you, Habib, because there was a question about the impact of Microsoft licensing.
Yes.
So can you talk about that now, or
exactly? Yes, exactly. Actually, the impact on Microsoft licensing is it's the same as what you're using inside your Hyper-V server. For example, if you have a Hyper-V environment, what I need is also the data center license for these Hyper-V hosts, because they will host the virtual machines of the that will host the desktops of the users. The impact as well, if you, for example, if you're looking at the user level, I think what you're asking about the user level, what is the impact? Actually, the impact, there will be a cost-effective advantage. Why? Because for each virtual machine, I need a Windows license, which is normal, and we already know that we cannot have, let's say, for example, because it's one master image, then we can have one Windows license for all the users. No, in fact, whatever users I have, for example, I have 600 users, I need 6 Windows licenses. But the advantage or the cost advantage is with the Office, for example, or the applications, the Microsoft applications that I have. What I do is that I only have, for example, buy one Office license, and then the VDA license will cover all of the users that you need. For example, you have to buy one Office license and 600 VDA license, which is virtual desktop access. It's a license from Microsoft for each user, and this will be also an advantage, because the total user cost of licensing will be less.
It's much cheaper,
yes.
Much cheaper than buying, let's say, Office for 600 users. Exactly. So I'm going to use only one Office license and 600 VDA licenses. So you'll end up by having a tremendously cut in cost for applications in terms of licenses.
Exactly. Yes.
This is from Microsoft perspective.
Yeah. Now, even this is Microsoft licensing. For the license itself, it's Dell Premium Edition license, and it covers for each user actually, and it covers 1 year. The same cost. It covers 1 year maintenance, support maintenance from there. Now the second thing is that I'm going to just show you the RDP. And as I mentioned, the RD session host, the remote desktop session host, is a Microsoft remote desktop session host role, and vWorkspace, we install let's say the features of vWorkspace onside it, and it will integrate by itself. Not much to see actually here. Let's move on to. This is the secure access gateway, and it's used for only giving access to the users from inside or even from outside, because I can move this, or let's say configure it as I want inside the management console. Now, if I want to access my virtual desktop, I can, as I mentioned, I can access it from any web client, any native client that I have. It depends on my operating system. For example, let's say I'm in a coffee shop and I want to access my environment from there. What I do is that one thing I need to mention is that some of the users, what we have done is that to increase the access of the virtual desktop, what we have done is that we removed all of the start menu. You know, sorry, not start menu, the start screen. Whenever you access Windows 8.1 or Windows 8, there is a start screen in the beginning. We removed all of the icons there in order to which is the...
This is something lovely, guys, that what we can do under user profile management is to remove all the startup things that normally takes place whenever you want to open or you load your desktop. So normally when you load desktop, it shows you loading your desktop, and it takes a lot of time loading these applications at the front end or at the back end. So you can hide these startups, and you can see how fast the desktop work actually.
Exactly.
And to be clear to you guys, this is internal, and this is not over the LAN. It's over wireless, right, Habib?
Yes, this is internal.
So but over wireless, I mean, it's not over LAN.
Yes, yes.
So over wireless, and it took like less than a second or 2 seconds to open your desktop, having a desktop provision to you. So what about if you're using a LAN?
Exactly. And it's, as you can see, it's very fast. What you can do is just go and access your virtual desktop, do whatever you want to do, and you can have so many, let's say, configurations. What you can do is that, for example, if I create a new folder here, what I can do is that I can keep it, or I can give the user the ability to every time to access his access the desktop as it's the first time. For demo purposes here, we made it as of the first time. So, for example, let's say I close the session and then I return. It's gonna be also the same, because I will never lose any things that I have done. Since it is a pool virtual desktop here, whatever things I have done, it will be removed once I sign out. But I can change that at any time, and I can make it to be, for example, personalized virtual desktop for the user, so he can access and use the same virtual machine each time. Or in the pooled virtual desktop, I can use the profile management, so whatever changes he has done on the profile will be put or will be saved.
And we can have we can have more control at the user management desktop. Let's say whenever it is ideal for a certain time, what to do with that virtual machine. Whenever he clicks X and disconnect, not log off, what do we do with that machine? And this gives us more control of having this machine. Let's suppose, for example, you set in your desktop, you launch your virtual desktop, and you left away without signing out or without getting disconnection or disconnecting your desktop. So this could be a threat of somebody sitting at that desktop and opening the applications you're using. So we can even control whenever a user is ideal or he logs off or he disconnects himself with that virtual machine.
Yes. That's it for the demo, I think.
For sure, just to add one note, this is just to access your desktop through the web. Technically speaking, you can access your desktop from a desktop that you have, and you can access your desktop from your mobile, from your laptops, from your tablets. So just a small demo to show you that you can do it over the web. And even the web that Habib typed is just to connect you to your desktop, but over there also you can publish applications.
Exactly.
So let's say I have a common application for a set of users and you want to publish this application over the web. So you can do that actually by adding the web application. Like vWorkspace Management Console, you have another application or the applications that you need from Office to third-party applications published on that portal.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Now let's return to questions and answers. If anyone has any question, we are more than welcome to answer it. Yes, please. I'm here actually at any time. You can ask any question.
It's time for your Q&As, and we're ready to hear all your questions, guys. You can either use the chat window or you can unmute yourselves and ask us the questions.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Haidar, Habib, I think there are there any questions? Okay, so we had to end that webinar. Thank you so much for attending this webinar and hope that you enjoyed it. Thanks to Habib.
Yes. Thank you.
Who did the presentation, and I would like to thank in the small demo, and would like to thank also our coordinator, Mr. Haidar, on having this good and nice presentation and demo. If you have any other further questions, please feel free to ask us these questions and send them to us by email. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.